Welcome to William McCarthy's 2010 trip to Ireland. It's a 10-day trip to tour around Ireland with 10 future educators in the EESE department, Early Childhood and Elementary Education and Special Education. Our first picture is at Dublin Airport. We were picked up on a Mercedes bus, as you can see, and we're just all loading up and back, putting our suitcases in. For the 10 days, we had to pack about 1 or 2 bags, and we had to read about Ireland a little bit and see what our trip would entail. We have our driver, Steve. He's not native to Ireland, but came over from England in the 80s, but was very knowledgeable about Ireland and about the landscape and just any issue you have. Along the bus ride, you could ask him any question you wanted to, and he had a very educated response. Steve was wonderful to have along just because of that. Here we are driving down the road. We're in a giant bus. Look at these mountains out here. How little the road is. Our first stop when we got on the bus and left Dublin Airport was Malahide Castle. Malahide Castle was really cool. It had many sights to see with this landscape and architect of the castle, and was our first stop, like I said. Malahide Castle is a 14th century castle, and we got to go inside and visit it and see much of the artifacts and things that have been collected from the castle. One of the fun and eventful things that happened within the castle that we got to go to was tea and scones. As you can see in the picture, we have a scone on the right side, the large biscuit looking thing with various nuts and raisins, and a special homemade blackberry jelly, and the tea, a special tea that they had various sugars to put in, sugar cubes ranging from man-made sugars to sugar in the raw, but were in the form of cubes, and also a sort of Cool Whip topping that went on the scone. After leaving the castle, we had a long trip to our next destination, so along the way we decided to stop in one small town. I can't recall the name of the town, but we stopped in it to have maybe lunch or something, and while stopped, I just walked around the town, and I saw a kind of a funny butcher shop. It's called Horan's Family Butchers. And I walked inside and looked to see what they had to offer. I walked inside. They had various meats and things that looked pretty fresh, along with these Irish potatoes, which I thought was kind of a cool picture because Ireland's known for liking potatoes, and some of their history has to do with potatoes. But I think these things would have to be cooked, and I was kind of looking for something fast, so I stopped at another place. The name of that place is Supermax, which is pretty comparable to McDonald's that we have in the US. They just call it a different name. They had things ranging from burgers to hot dogs and also ice cream. Here's the Supermax value menu. You can see that the prices are in euros. They did have a €1 menu, but also they did have McDonald's, but this is kind of a similar restaurant to McDonald's Supermax. Leaving the town, we were on our way to our next destination, which is called Clonmacnoise. It's an area which the monks and high priests live in, and there are several structures and things for those priests to congregate in and also practice. The picture here is of a thing called a whispering doorway, and what it was used for was confessionals. That's what this lady is pointing to, is kind of a weird doorway. But what she said is that a person could stand on one side, and 2 people could stand on each side and whisper into the crevices of the doorway, and you can hear one another. And I tried that, and it did work. So it's really kind of cool. This next picture of me is next to a very interesting tower called McCarthy Tower. As you all know, that's my last name. This tower was used for the folks in the Clonmacnoise to get in during attacks by invaders from Vikings to just indigenous people, other indigenous people. And what they would do is all climb into this castle, and you can kind of see near my shoulder, that's a doorway. They would throw down a rope ladder there, and everyone would climb into the tower with their valuables, pull up the rope ladder, and were able to defend against the people attacking their village.
Yep. All right, and then you're going to... Oh, lovely. I was going to go to my hen party. I'll just go with Dee now and get ready for it. And do you know kind of what places you're visiting when you're here? You visit many monasteries, or is it mainly castles or different types of Irish history? What do you get to?
It's quite a range. This is, I think, our only monastery.
Okay, because I'll be telling you a few things, and then because if I knew if you're going to other places.
The woman talking in the previous video that you saw was talking about the high crosses, and that's what Clonmacnoise is known for. They have several high crosses within their grounds, and these high crosses are dated far back and are being preserved at Clonmacnoise and are very interesting to the people of Ireland and of the Catholic culture. After visiting Clonmacnoise, we headed for our next destination. Our next destination was on the west side of Ireland in Doolin. Doolin's a very small town. This picture is the actual hostel that that we stayed in. The name of it is Doolin Activity Lodge, and they had various things, and we all stayed in separate rooms. They had Wi-Fi and things, which was really nice, along with a full breakfast each morning. The next picture is of the native meal that they have there for breakfast, which is really interesting. It does differ from just slightly from an American breakfast. You can notice that there's a large piece of bacon, and that's the top part. It's way larger than we would have here. Also, to your right is a thing called blood pudding, which is made of mixture of blood and sausage. You have your regular sausage links, eggs, and tomatoes. Here I am, just here in Doolin. Got a couple of shops here I walk to. There's the local pub down there with all the cars. People go to the pub all times a day. Just walking back to the, see the mountains up there? Here comes the car. I'm on the wrong side, walking. They drive on the left side here. They used to use donkeys, and but they would start the fence by the first place they could throw one. More cars. They drive pretty fast here. There's a horse over there. He's coming up 80 kilometers on this little road. That's pretty fast. Here's a little horse. We'll say hi to him. Hey, little buddy. There he is. Little horse. Person on a bicycle. Look at the fields of green. And it's wintertime. They just had a frost. They don't hardly ever get frost. They were pretty excited about getting a frost. Now we have Dr. Wheeler and Dr. Bauserman, and we're on our way to church. After having a wonderful breakfast and full bellies, we decided to walk to Sunday church. As you can see up on the hill, maybe just above the car, that's the church. We walked about 45 minutes to church along these long bordered roads of rock. Here's a picture of inside the church. It's a rather small church. Here's a picture of a pew at the church in which we sat on, and they're really not that comfortable. But that didn't matter because the Mass was not very long. It was around a half an hour. Very minimal music and things just simultaneously one after another. Next, after church, we decided to have a group meeting. We'll all get together, talk about what we were going to do. We were going to try to go as a group to a cave, Doolin Cave, but we didn't have the opportunity to do that. If I were to go back, I think that'd be something great to do. Since Russell and I were such great friends, we just decided to try a little golf, pitch and putt along the ocean, which was very beautiful. Here's me looking over just hole 5, looking over into the ocean and the cliffs there, and it's just surreal when you're golfing out there how cool it is. And also looking at the ground, you can see that their rough is a lot different than ours. Their grasses are longer. There's Russell looking out into the ocean. Next we have a picture of me at Cliffs of Moher. These cliffs are very high and are very scenic. There's a lot of folks around. This is kind of a touristy area. Here's another picture. You can see how steep they are and how beautiful at the same time. These rocks are located near the Burn, or also called the Burn, which means Great Rock. It's located in County Clare of Ireland, of Northwest Ireland. Next we have a picture of a thing called a Jealous Wall. This Jealous Wall is located at Belvedere Castle. King Belvedere built to make his brother jealous, and his brother, looking out into the distance, could see this wall and mistake it for actually being a castle, and therefore making him jealous that he could build such a large structure. Here's a funny sign: mind your head on staircase. And mind your head, because we're headed for Dublin and it's going to be a ride. Once we got to Dublin, we met with the host family at a church near the location that we'd all be staying. We actually stayed with a partner in our own individual host family houses. Our houses and host families were located in Dun Laoghaire. The picture of our house, there's Russell outside. This is the home of the Cadogans. Our host mother's name was Ina, and she had a daughter named Kalina. And they also had a husband who, I'm not familiar with his name, but he was a principal at a elementary school. Here's a picture of Russell and I's room that we were staying in. Once we got there, we were able to settle down, but we weren't able to get on our laptops right away because Ina, our host mother, wanted us to have dinner. She thought maybe she wouldn't get to know us if we got our laptops out and were able to talk with our families right away. So she had us dinner ready, and when we got there, we sat up, and she had rules for us in our room that told us how long our showers could be, 5 minutes, and no visitors, and we had a curfew, and we had to be at every meal that she cooked. She was very strict, but I enjoyed being in her company the entire time, along with Russell and the rest of the family. We got to see how our Irish family functions and various things that they do as a family, and it was a really good experience, and I'm glad I got to be a part of that. We were about to go to the schools, so our host mother Ina had to make us a breakfast, and this is what a typical breakfast looked like from my standpoint. I sat at the end of the table, and there's Russell's hoodie. He sat about right there. He had his typical cereal like he has every morning, and I had my scones. I really liked the scones while I was there, and Ina would always have fresh tea available for us and various jams, and it was wonderful every morning having a breakfast ready for you to go. And she'd pack our lunches, and we had lunches to have for when we went to the schools. And our lunches, typically we'd have a ham sandwich with butter on it, along with maybe a candy bar. Okay, so after breakfast, this is our person that picked us up. There's Russell in the back seat. Thank God he let me have the front because he looks pretty cramped. And as you also notice, they're driving. Their wheel is on the right side of the vehicle, and it was really kind of weird at first riding in the front seat. Driving wouldn't be the regular way we would get to our school, but in this case it was. He took us from the first day just because we might have a problem with the bus route and walking. We typically wait maybe 20 minutes for the bus, ride 20 minutes, and walk 20 minutes. But one day we had to walk the whole way, which was actually quite a trip. Walking in, there's Russell, and there's some graffiti there on the school gates. Here's the children's courtyard playground. This is where they went out about 4 times per day. They'd have one long lunch recess per day where they were given their meals. They'd have milk and sandwiches provided by the school for free, and they had a couple like snack breaks. They could go out and play. But Russell and I had a great time out on this play area. Next picture we have is of a basketball goal, and every time they'd really enjoy me getting a game of knockout started. They really enjoyed knockout. They had a couple rubber balls that they played basketball with, and we'd do magic tricks. We'd play games that I had learned from a camp I taught at, and it was just a fun time. The kids were great. It was kind of worrisome when we first walked up, but once we got acquainted with the principal and the teachers and the kids, I was most comfortable as I could have ever been. Here's a picture of their library. I actually, and they have a projector in there in which I gave a lesson about St. Patrick on. And the kids all gathered in there, and I gave a lesson about St. Patrick's, because the week we were there, ironically, was the week before St. Patrick's Day, and they had a whole week dedicated to Irish history, and they would do Irish dancing every day and talk about several Irish cultural facts. Here's a classroom, a typical classroom. I was in 5th, 6th grade. It was a combination class, and the deputy principal, which was the teacher whom I was observing. Her name was Miss Diffie, and they had several students in here. Each student sat at these desks, and we also had another teacher, ironically, from America, located in the same very class. Here's just this kind of a cool little drawing that I saw on the wall while visiting. It says, "Show Racism the Red Card." And I thought that was something we probably wouldn't see in America. Things they might have up in their classroom that I found very interesting was a poster of Barack Obama, along with just one sample dollar bill. I noticed that they maybe weren't familiar with the rest of the monetary system that we had here in America. So the next day I came to school, I dug my pockets and I gave him a $5 bill, a $10 bill, as well as all the coins that we had. And I stuck them up there and we talked about those for a while. Our next photo is about something that I found very interesting. It's probably my most memorable thing doing at the school, a hurling stick. And if you're not familiar with hurling, hurling is one of Ireland's most prized sports. While I was there, I was able to participate with the children in the field playing hurling. And they taught me various things, the names of the parts of the hurling stick, along with the rules of the game. As you can see, the children wore uniforms all day long. These aren't specifically for hurling. They had to wear, but the helmets that they had to wear were. This is a picture of their PE teacher. He was actually a hurling coach himself, so he was very knowledgeable about the sport and was very adamant about telling me about the sport.
Draw, bring it. Oh, hit the thing on you. There you go. Oh my God. Yes!
You get 2 points, right? Stand it up again!
Go again, go! Okay! We're just swinging, listen! Okay! We're just swinging, this is where it gets... Take away the cards now, what do you mean? Al, you're on. Up here beside me.
Each day we normally do some sort of touring in Dublin, maybe walk around to the shops and things. But here's a picture of a sign, and it just goes to show you how complicated things could be. So hold on tight, we're going to Dublin. And there's the spire. It's this long, long needle in the middle of the town near O'Leary Street, and it just gave you a point. It was something very tall. You didn't really see a lot of tall buildings in Dublin, mainly because there's a lot of old structures. Trinity College is a very prestigious school within Dublin. With being very prestigious, it was very beautiful. And one of the big things that's located in the Trinity College is the Book of Kells. This is what we'd probably ride back home and just around Dublin, and we had a bus stop, 5-day Ramblers bus stop, where we could ride the bus as many times as we want. So if you really like double-decker buses, I think this is the place for you. Favorite tourist stops in Dublin was the Guinness factory. Ireland's really known for its pubs, and Guinness is the main drink they serve there, and it's very, very delicious, especially in Ireland and in Dublin. I love a sign that I just saw while touring Ireland in the Dublin area. Guinness is good for you. people always talked about going to the pubs and trying a Guinness and being social with it, and it was a great atmosphere within the pubs. And the Guinness factory was also pretty. After touring the Guinness factory, you got to go in a very cool glass room at the very top of the Guinness factory, and it's a glass room that overlooks entire Dublin, Ireland, and I believe is the second highest point that you could go to. Ireland was a very fun and wonderful place to visit, not only for the people, the architecture, and the landscape, but also as just a cultural experience for yourself if you have any Irish roots. We flew home on Aer Lingus, and it was a wonderful trip, and I look forward to seeing Ireland again. Erin go Bra, that means Ireland forever.